Night number 2. After I grabbed some dinner at McDonald's, I drove on over to Freddy's. This time, there was a vehicle just leaving. I didn't know who it was, and it wasn't the same car my boss had when he drove away last night. I shrugged it off and got out of my car. I unlocked the door and took a glance at the robots. They seemed to be looking at me, but I was facing head-on with them and they were probably just left in that position. I headed back into the security office and saw that I once again had another message. I pressed play.
Hello? Hello? Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats.
There's nothing I really have to say tonight than emphasize the use of your door lights. There are in fact blind spots in your camera views, and those blind spots happen to be just outside your door. So just remember to check those frequently. Well, that's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
I took what he said into account and checked my door lights. Nothing. I then began to check my cameras. The gang was still on stage and didn't move. I decided I'd check that Pirate Cove place and saw that the curtain was open far enough that I saw a figure in there. Some sort of dog? I wasn't sure as I switched off the cameras. I have to conserve power. I left them off for a solid minute before I checked them again. I saw that the curtain was all the way open in Pirate Cove and that figure was standing just outside of it. I had a better view of it now. It appeared to be a fox. I then quickly checked the main stage. Bonnie was gone, but Chica and Freddy were still there. I checked each camera and saw that Bonnie was once again on the main audience area, just like last night. I checked Pirate Cove again and saw that nothing was there. The curtain was wide open and the figure wasn't there. I checked each camera close to Pirate Cove until I got to the West Hall. I saw that fox sprinting down the hallway. My body tensed up and I was filled with pure fear. I smashed the door button quicker and harder than I did last night. I then heard banging on the door, as if someone wanted to get inside. After that, I heard footsteps moving away from it, as if it left. Just to be cautious, I checked the Pirate Cove cam and saw that the curtain was closed. I thought that meant that it returned, and I opened the door back up. I quickly checked the door lights on both sides and to my surprise, Bonnie was outside my left-hand door. I hit the door button again, filled with fear, and waited for Bonnie to leave. The night went on in a very similar way. The fox ran down the hallway again and Bonnie came close to me a few more times. Fortunately, Chica and Freddy stayed on stage just like last night. Why don't they leave the stage like Bonnie and the fox? I wondered. I left the place when my shift was over and saw Bonnie back up on stage. I didn't want to even look in Pirate's Cove since I've actually seen the bot in there move. I began thinking that it was strange the way these animatronics acted. I headed home and went to sleep. Night number 3. This time I went to Freddy's a bit earlier. Before my shift and after the other guard left. I didn't really want to wait until the middle of the night to arrive, which somewhat frightened me. I also got there while the owner was still there. I said hi to him but he just gave me a low hum, as if he was saying hey or I really don't feel like talking. I sat in the security office, playing games on my phone until its battery went out, which was conveniently at 11:57 p.m. I completely forgot to check the message machine for my nightly message. I don't know how it was possible to tune out that constant beep of the dang thing. Maybe it was because of my headphones, that were barely even up. Anyway, I pressed play.
Hello?
Wow, you made it to night 3. Great work. Most people don't make it this far. I mean, they moved on to other things. I'm not implying that they died. Yeah, didn't mean that.
I chuckled a bit when he said that.
Now, I don't really want to talk that much since Freddy's and his pals become more active the further the week goes on. I should have told you that before but I forgot. Sorry. Make sure you check those cameras while I talk, just to be safe.
I began to check the cameras. Nothing, everyone was in their proper spots.
Also, here's a tip I just came up with. If any of the animatronics see you and you can't close the door in time, just play dead, like, go limp. They'll probably think you're an empty costume. Then again, if you were an empty costume, they might try to put an endoskeleton into you. Don't know how that would work, y'all. Scratch that. Just don't get caught. Alright, well, I'm done here. See you on the flip side.
The message ended. I checked the cameras again, they were all out. West Hall, East Hall, Pirate Cove, every single camera was out. I was about to check on one of the cameras outside when I realized that they turned back on. I checked the main stage. Chica was gone. Not Bonnie, Chica. This kinda surprised me. Bonnie was the first one to always leave, why not now? I began to check around. That's when I found Chica in the audience area, staring directly at me from behind a table. The way she was facing, I also think she's a she, wasn't towards me, but her face was. This chilled my bones. Why were they staring directly at the cameras? Do they know I'm watching them? No I should be able to know that. The cameras went dark again, and I checked the door lights. There was nothing there. When they came back on, Bonnie was gone. Thankfully, Freddy was still there. I checked Pirate Cove, the curtain was closed. I then found both Bonnie and Chica in the opposite halls. Chica was in the East Hall and Bonnie in the West. This filled me to the brim with fear. I was surrounded, and there was nothing I could do. I checked the door lights. There was nothing on the left. I checked the right, and there was Chica, staring at me through the glass window. I was startled at first but then stared at it for a couple seconds. I saw it twitch, and I jumped for the door switch. That twitch was not something an AI could do. Well, they could twitch if they were broken, but not human-like Chica did. I checked the lights, Chica was still out there. I checked the right, and there was Bonnie. I was more startled by Bonnie because I swear I saw his mouth moving up and down almost like he was eating from outside. This caused me to immediately hit the door button. I was surrounded, more than I was when they were in the halls. I could do absolutely nothing but pray. I didn't open the doors for the rest of the night. It caused me to lose all my power right before 6, but my praying paid off. Nothing came to get me. I didn't leave that security office until the owner showed up because I was so scared. He didn't care and told me to leave because my shift was over. I went home and just watched movies. I couldn't find the courage to fall asleep, knowing I'd have nightmares. I stayed awake straight until my next shift. Night number 4. I got to the place at 11:50. As soon as I entered, I ran straight to the back of the building. I didn't have the bravery to look at those animatronics in the eye. It sounded silly, but it was true. When I entered the office, it was very messy. There were some papers on the floor, the fan was flung across the room, and the camera screen had a small crack in it. Strange. I thought, as I pressed the play button on the message machine.
Hello. Wow, day 4, good job.
The man sounded dull and non-quirky like he always is. I also heard a banging sound in the message. I was beginning to get a little creeped out.
Hey, I may not be around to send you any more messages. It's been a bad night here.
I was beginning to wonder what exactly was going on and started getting a small sense of anxiety rising in my stomach.
Hey, if you get the chance, can you check in one of those suits in the back? I might be.
The sound of a familiar tune cut him off. It was the tune that Freddy always used to play as part of his act. Could Freddy be doing something with this man?
Oh no.
He finished. The message kept going as I heard the sound of the man and some other thing scream, along with a very loud cracking sound. I was terrified, shocked with fear, and could not move. What happened to him? Did he just die? That explained the place being a mess, but how did this happen? It sounded like something impossible. No computer-programmed creation could act like this, even if it was malfunctioning. I sat for an hour, not looking at the cameras or door lights. I was too terrified to do anything. What snapped me out of my daze was the sound of heavy footsteps approaching me on the right. I didn't even check the door lights. I didn't look at the cameras, I ran out of the room to the right to face whatever the thing making the footsteps was. I was confident, angry, and scared at the same time. As soon as I entered the East Hall, those feelings left me, except for fear. There, looking straight at me, were a pair of white eyes. I just looked at it until it began moving forward and started laughing. It sounded just like Freddy's voice, so there was no doubt that what I was facing was Freddy. I ran straight back to the security office. As soon as I entered, I began hearing footsteps coming full speed after me and the other door. I closed the door where Freddy was in time. As soon as I was about to close the other door, I saw the fox. It was running straight for me, mouth open, and tears all over it, revealing its innards. I pressed the door button right before it entered, its nose being less than a foot away from me. I sat and let the power drain. By 2 AM I was at 72%. By 3 it was at 49%. At 4 AM, it was 28%, and at 5:30 it was 12%. I didn't know if I could survive, and I began not to care. I was slipping away. One of my favorite childhood memories have been turned into a nightmare. I woke up to my boss shaking me. He told me it was 7 AM and I needed to go home. There had been an accident. I asked what, but he said I shouldn't worry and I should go get some rest. He appeared to not care that I was sleeping on the job and just let me go without saying a word on the matter. As I was leaving, I smelled this very foul odor in the main stage area, and all the bots appeared to have red marks around their eyes. I thought I was just imagining them because I do experience hallucinations from time to time, but a part of me was telling me that those marks were real. When I stepped outside there were a lot of police cars out there. I saw some policemen talking to the owner and others writing down information. I also saw that car from a couple nights ago when I arrived for my shift parked in the parking lot. It had caution tape around it, which caused me to believe it belonged to my mentor. When I got home, I did all my research on finding some info on the old security guard. After a good 2 hours of research, I came across the name Todd Smith. I believe it could possibly be the name of the man I'm looking for, but I'm not sure. I thought about asking my boss his name tomorrow. For now I just had to get some sleep. Night number 5. I didn't want to go to work at all. I was too terrified, but I had no choice. I needed the money, and it better be worth it. I arrived at the place, and my boss was waiting outside for me. "Hello, sir," I greeted.
"Shut your mouth,"
he replied. I was surprised. "Excuse me? Is there a problem?" I asked.
"Yeah, there is."
He began moving towards me.
"That old security guard, the guy whose job you took, is dead."
He finished. You're kidding, right?" I asked. I knew he was dead, I just didn't want to believe it.
"No, I ain't kidding. The funny thing is, you are the only person that could have been in here with him when it happened,"
he said. "What are you saying?" I questioned.
"Oh, quit playing all innocent. You know that you killed him. I have no evidence other than you being with him at the time of the incident. I will find more evidence, and you will be locked up,"
he finished. "Sir, I can tell you that I have never even met the person. I did not commit this crime," I replied.
"Oh yeah? Then who did it? An intruder? There were no signs of forced entry. The animatronics? Impossible."
He didn't wait for me to finish. He stormed away to his car, and drove away. I entered and sprinted to the security office. I want to just get this night over with, and the only place I want to see those animatronics is on the cameras, not anywhere else. I entered the office and saw that I had a message. I thought it was from my boss, so I pressed play. I was completely wrong. What I heard was a deep voice saying a bunch of gibberish, along with a couple screams. The voice sounded a bit like Freddy's, and I'm sure it was. With the way they've been acting, I'm not surprised they left this horrid message. I couldn't even figure out what he was saying, which frightened me further. I immediately picked up the tablet and began checking on the stage and Pirate Cove. Those places are where those creatures originate, so my safest bet was to watch those places carefully. The camera then went dark. I then began to hearing pots and pans shuffle around. This made me tense up, because I knew one of those things were making those noises. When the cameras came back on, I checked everywhere for the animatronics. Freddy was still on stage, thankfully, but Bonnie and Chica were gone. The curtain in Pirate Cove was also halfway open, but that wasn't my main concern right now. I then tried to locate Bonnie and Chica. I found Bonnie at camera 3 and she was just staring at me through the camera. Her face up close enough that I could see her endoskeleton eyes. I began to scan around for Chica, but I couldn't find her. I checked the door lights. Chica was outside with her jaw wide open. I closed the door to avoid her getting in. As soon as I did that, I began hearing Freddy's tune play. I checked the cameras and saw Freddy in the audience area, and I could only see those white eyes. I checked the door lights and saw Chica was gone, so I opened the door. I checked the cameras again. Bonnie and Chica were now standing on opposite sides of Freddy. I checked Pirate Cove, the curtain was wide open. I closed the door immediately, knowing soon the fox would be here. I then checked the cameras and saw laying next to Bonnie was that fox. Its eyes were wide open, but it was limp. The camera then went black, and Freddy's tune then got slower and more, well, demonic sounding. The cameras came back on, and I saw that now, in front of the whole gang, was a limp Freddy Fazbear suit, with eyes poking out of the front of the mask, with streams of blood stained down the sockets. The cameras went dark again, and the tune picked up speed gradually. I began hearing footsteps close in at every angle and I hit both the doors shut as soon as I could. I then blacked out. I woke up to banging on the door. I checked the time. 5:55 a.m. I checked the cameras and saw that each animatronic was in their respective spot. I thought my boss showed up early and wanted to come in. So I opened the door. When I did, I saw that same Freddy Fazbear suit with the eyes poking out of the front. I was sure I could also see some teeth, but I didn't look too close. The last thing I noticed was a bib on its chest. It was the same one as Chica's, only there was dry blood all over it. I ran away, I left the building and I drove away as fast as I could. 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail with my check from Freddy's and a "you're fired" note. I didn't care. I wanted a different job now. I didn't want to spend another day in that place. I contacted the authorities and told them about what I experienced in that place, but they told me I should get some rest. Yeah, right. What happened in that place for kids was not right, there was something very wrong. I heard the place is scheduled to close down soon, but have a grand reopening next year. All I know is that whatever went on in there could not be achieved by an AI-controlled suit. I now see that what I truly loved as a kid was all a big, nightmarish lie.